3 weeks ago, I found the betting slips hidden in Andrew's old hockey bag. If you think what I discovered in that gym bag was shocking, wait until you hear what I found locked in the bottom drawer of my own desk. The phone call came on a Tuesday morning in January. I was sitting at my kitchen table in my small bungalow in Scarborough, watching the snow pile up outside. The landline rang, that old-fashioned bell sound that seems too loud in an empty house. I let it ring 3 times before I picked up. "Dad, it's Andrew." I hadn't heard from my son in 2 months. Not since Thanksgiving, when he'd shown up late, stayed for an hour, and left before dessert. His mother, God rest her soul, would have been heartbroken. But Margaret had been gone for 5 years now, and I'd learned to accept that Andrew had his own life downtown. "Andrew, how are you?" "I'm great, Dad. Really great. Listen, I've got some exciting news. Can I come by this afternoon? I want to talk to you about something." There was something in his voice, an energy I hadn't heard in years. For a moment, I let myself hope that maybe he'd met someone, or gotten a promotion at that tech startup he worked for. "Of course, I'll put on some coffee." He arrived at 2 o'clock, driving a car I didn't recognize. A BMW, new. From the looks of it, he'd always driven a beat-up Honda Civic. Andrew was 35 now, starting to thin on top like I had at his age, but he'd dressed well. Expensive coat, new boots. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Margaret and I had raised him, where we'd helped with homework and celebrated birthdays. He looked around the house like he was seeing it for the first time in years. Maybe he was. "The place looks good, Dad. You keeping up with everything, okay?" "I manage." "That's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. Managing. Your future." I poured him coffee in one of Margaret's old mugs, the one with the moose on it that we'd bought in Banff 20 years ago. "I've been thinking," Andrew said, wrapping his hands around the mug. "You're 68 now. This house, it's a lot for one person. The maintenance, the snow removal, the property taxes, and your pension, Dad. I know CPP and OAS don't go as far as they used to. You do fine. I know you do. But what if you could do better? What if you could actually enjoy your retirement instead of just surviving it?" He pulled out a folder from his messenger bag, slick, professional looking. Inside were printouts, spreadsheets, graphs with upward trending lines. "I've got an opportunity, Dad. A business opportunity. My friend Derek, the one I told you about, he's launching a cryptocurrency consulting firm. We've got clients lined up, contracts ready to sign. But we need capital for the initial setup, office space, equipment, licenses." I looked at the papers without really seeing them. Numbers swam across the pages. "We need 150,000 to get started. Derek's putting in 75, and I've got 50 saved up. We just need another 25 to make this work. And Dad, the projected returns, they're incredible. We're talking 20, 30% in the first year alone." "Cryptocurrency," I said. "I know what you're thinking, but it's not what it used to be. It's legitimate now. Real businesses, real money. And Dad, this is my chance. Our chance. You invest 25,000, and within a year, I'll double it, triple it, maybe. Think about what that could mean for you. Real financial security." I sipped my coffee. It had gone cold. "I don't have 25,000, Andrew." "But you do. Your RRSPs. You're past retirement age. You can withdraw without penalty. And honestly, Dad, what are you saving it for? You're not getting any younger. You should be enjoying that money, and this investment, it could set both of us up." He kept talking. Numbers, projections, opportunities. But I was watching his hands. They were shaking slightly. And his eyes, they kept darting to the window, to the door, anywhere but directly at me. "Let me think about it," I said finally. His face fell, just for a second, before he recovered. "Of course. But Dad, the opportunity window is closing. Derek needs to know by the end of the month. After that, he's bringing in other investors." After he left, I sat at that table for a long time. The BMW pulled away, too fast for the snowy street. I thought about the son I'd raised, the boy who'd played hockey in this driveway, who'd cried at his mother's funeral. I thought about how he'd asked for money, not how I was doing, not about my health, or whether I was lonely, or if I needed anything. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something was wrong. I've lived 68 years on this earth, and you develop instincts. So at 2 in the morning, I got up and started looking. Andrew still had things here. A box in the basement from when he'd moved out of his last apartment. Just store it for a bit, Dad. I'll pick it up soon. That was 3 years ago. I'd forgotten about it. I found the box behind the old hockey equipment. When I opened it, I saw clothes, some books, a few framed photos, and at the bottom, a gym bag. Inside the gym bag were betting slips. Dozens of them. Sports betting, casino receipts, printouts from online gambling sites. Most were losers. The dates ranged from 6 months ago to just 2 weeks back. There were credit card statements too, 2 different cards, both maxed out. Total debt, $48,000. I sat on the cold basement floor, holding those slips, and I felt something I hadn't felt since Margaret's diagnosis. That hollow, dropping sensation in your chest when you realize something terrible is happening and you're powerless to stop it. But I wasn't the same man I'd been when Margaret got sick. That man had been paralyzed by grief, unable to act, unable to make the hard decisions. This man, this version of me, I'd learned something from watching my wife die. I'd learned that sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes you have to be smarter than the disease, smarter than the person trying to destroy you. I went back upstairs and made a decision. Over the next 2 weeks, Andrew called me 4 times. Each call was the same, enthusiastic at first, then increasingly desperate. The window was closing. Derek needed an answer. Other investors were interested. I kept saying I needed more time to think. Dad, I don't understand. This is a sure thing. Are you not taking this seriously? I'm taking it very seriously, Andrew. That's why I need to be careful. On the 3rd week, I took action. I called my financial advisor, Robert, a man I'd known for 20 years. I explained the situation, leaving out the betting slips. I didn't want to shame my son, not yet. Robert, if I wanted to withdraw from my RRSPs, what would that look like? Well, Harold, you could. You're past the age requirement. But I'd advise against it. That money is your security. Without it, you're living purely on CPP and OAS, and that's not much, especially in the GTA. What if I only withdrew $20,000, just as a temporary measure? There was a pause. Harold, is everything all right? This isn't like you. I'm fine. Just exploring options. If you're being pressured into something, I need to know. Elder financial abuse is a real thing, and I've seen it destroy people's retirement. Nobody's pressuring me, Robert. I'm just thinking about the future. But I wasn't withdrawing anything. What I was doing was setting a trap. That same afternoon, I went to my bank. I withdrew $500 in cash, small bills. Then I went to Staples and bought what I needed. A small safe, the kind you might keep documents in, with a combination lock. I also bought a pack of file folders and some paperwork protectors. At home, I got to work. I took 25 pieces of blank paper and cut them to the size of Canadian currency. I wrapped them in bundles with real $50 bills on the outside. $5,000 in real money, the rest paper. I put these bundles in the safe, along with a document I created. A simple agreement. Loan agreement. Harold Chen agrees to loan Andrew Chen the sum of $25,000 CAD for business investment purposes. Repayment terms. Full amount to be returned within 24 months, with 5% interest per annum. Collateral. None. This loan is based on trust and family obligation. I printed it, signed it with my real signature, and left a space for Andrew's signature below. Then I put it all in the safe. Set a simple combination, 4 digits, 1989, the year Andrew was born. I placed the safe in the bottom drawer of my desk in the spare room, the room that used to be Andrew's bedroom. I didn't lock the desk. I wanted it to be findable, but not obvious. Then I waited. Andrew came by 2 days later. He looked worse. There were dark circles under his eyes, and he'd lost weight. The BMW was gone. He was driving the old Honda again. Dad, I need to know. Derek's bringing in another investor tomorrow, if I can't confirm. This is my last chance. I looked at my son. This man I'd raised. This stranger wearing his face. I can't do it, Andrew. I'm sorry. It's too risky. Something flashed in his eyes. Anger, maybe. Desperation. You don't understand. This is my future. Our future. Why can't you just trust me? I do trust you. But I don't trust cryptocurrency. I don't trust investments. I don't understand. Your mother and I, we worked hard for every dollar we saved. I can't just gamble it away. It's not gambling. I didn't say anything. We both knew I'd found the betting slips. We both knew I knew. But neither of us acknowledged it. That's how families work sometimes. We maintain the lie until it becomes unbearable. He left angry. The door slammed. I watched him drive away too fast again, and I felt something break inside me. But I pushed it down. I had to see this through. 3 days passed. Then, on a Saturday morning, I did something I'd never done before. I left the house unlocked and went to the grocery store. I took my time, walking the aisles of Loblaws slowly, making sure I was gone for at least 2 hours. I even stopped at Tim Hortons for a coffee and a donut, sitting in the window, watching the snow fall. When I came home, I knew immediately. The spare room door was ajar. I always kept it closed. I walked in slowly, my heart hammering. The desk drawer was open. The safe was gone. I sat on the bed and waited. My phone was in my hand. Robert's number already pulled up, but not dialed. Not yet. 4 hours later, Andrew burst through the front door. His face was red, twisted with rage and something else. Shame, maybe. Fear. "Where is it?" he shouted. "Where's the real money?" I stood up slowly, carefully. I'd never been afraid of my son before. I was afraid now. "What money, Andrew? Don't play games with me. The safe. I know what you did. Where's the real money?" "The real money is in my RRSP account, where it's always been. Safe. Secure. Not accessible to anyone but me." He stared at me, understanding dawning. "You set me up. You knew I'd come looking. I knew someone would come looking. I didn't know it would be you. I hoped it wouldn't be." He slumped against the doorframe. The anger drained out of him, leaving only exhaustion. "I need that money, Dad. You don't understand. I'm in trouble." Real trouble. The betting debts. "How did you—" He stopped. "You went through my things. You went through mine. At least I was looking out for you. What were you looking for?" "I told you. The investment. There is no investment. There's no Derek, no cryptocurrency firm. There's just debts. $48,000 in gambling debts. And from the look of you, probably more by now. Who do you owe, Andrew? Who scares you so much that you'd steal from your own father?" He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor, his head in his hands. "Private lenders, the kind who don't take no for an answer. They gave me 3 weeks. That was 2.5 weeks ago. How much do you actually need?" $30,000. "To make a payment, buy more time. And then what? You make another payment in 3 months? 6 months? Andrew, you don't have a business problem. You have an addiction problem. I can quit. I just need to get clear of this debt first." That's what addicts always say. He looked up at me with Margaret's eyes. She used to look at me that same way when she was scared, when the doctors first said cancer, when she was lying in the hospital bed near the end. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. You're all I have left." And there it was, the truth we'd both been avoiding. Margaret was gone. His friends, his life, his money, all gone. And he'd come back to the only place he had left, to take from the only person who couldn't say no. Except I had said no. "I'm not giving you money for gambling debts," I said quietly. "But I am going to help you, on my terms." I laid it out for him. $30,000, but not to pay off loan sharks. To pay for rehab, a proper gambling addiction treatment program, residential, 90 days minimum. I'd already researched them, found one in Muskoka that had good reviews. After rehab, if he stayed clean for 6 months, I'd help him negotiate with his creditors, work out a payment plan. And if I say no, then you're on your own. And Andrew, you take $1 more from me without asking. You steal anything from this house, and I'm calling the police. I'm your father, but I'm not your victim," he cried. My son, my 35-year-old son, sat on the floor of his childhood bedroom and cried like the boy he used to be. I wanted to comfort him, Every instinct I had as a father wanted to kneel down, hug him, tell him everything would be okay. But I didn't, because it wouldn't be okay. Not until he did the work. Not until he wanted to change more than he wanted to gamble. I need time to think, he said finally. You have 24 hours. After that, my offer expires. He left without another word. I spent that night lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd made the right choice, wondering if being tough was the same as being cruel, wondering if this was what good parenting looked like at 68, or if I was just an old man who'd forgotten how to love. Andrew called the next afternoon. I'll do it, the rehab. But Dad, I need to tell you something first. What? The safe. I already tried to sell it, at a pawn shop. They opened it, saw the fake money, called the cops. I told them it was a misunderstanding, that I thought it was real. They let me go. But Dad, if you'd pressed charges, if that had been actual theft, I know. That's why I only put $500 real in there. Enough to be theft, but not enough for serious charges. Just enough to scare you. Did it work? There was a long silence. Then, quietly, yeah, it worked. I paid for the rehab. It took a chunk of my savings, but not everything. Not the retirement funds. Robert helped me set it up through a trust, so Andrew couldn't access the money directly. The facility would bill me, and only me. That was 3 months ago. Andrew's still up in Muskoka. He calls twice a week. The conversations are short, awkward. We talk about the weather, about the program, about nothing important. But he's there. He's trying. Last week, he told me he's started working through the 12 steps. One of them involves making amends to people you've harmed. He asked if I'd be willing to meet with him when he gets to that step. I said yes. I still live in this house. Still sit at this kitchen table every morning, drinking coffee from Margaret's moose mug. The safe is gone. I threw it out the day after Andrew left for rehab. But I keep the fake money in a drawer. Those bundles of paper wrapped in real 50s. A reminder that sometimes love looks like saying no. Sometimes it looks like setting a trap for your own son because it's the only way to save him. The snow is melting now. Spring is coming. I watch it from my window and I think about second chances. About the difference between enabling and helping. About how hard it is to stand firm when every instinct tells you to give in. I think about Margaret, about what she would have done. She was always the softer one, the one who wanted to believe the best in people. But she was also the one who made the hard decisions when we couldn't afford to be soft anymore. When we had to choose between what felt good and what was right. I like to think she'd be proud of me. For not giving up on Andrew, but also for not giving in. For finding a third way, a harder way, a way that required me to be something other than just a father. To be a parent who loved his son enough to let him fall so he could learn to stand up on his own. The phone rings sometimes. Old friends checking in. Robert calling about my investments. Telemarketers selling things I don't need. But every time it rings, my heart jumps a little. Hoping it's Andrew. Hoping he's okay. Hoping he's fighting. Because that's what I've learned in these 68 years. Life isn't about avoiding the fight. It's about choosing which fights matter. It's about standing your ground when the easy thing would be to fold. It's about looking at someone you love more than anything in the world and saying no, because no is the only word that might save them. I get my pension every month. CPP OAS, the small teacher's pension Margaret left me. It's not much, but it's mine. I didn't build my life so someone else could tear it down. Even if that someone shares my blood, especially if they share my blood. Sometimes in the evening, when the house is quiet, I walk through these rooms and I see ghosts. Margaret at the stove, cooking dinner, Andrew as a child, running through the hallway. The life we had before, everything got complicated. Before age and addiction and loss turned us into people we didn't recognize. But I also see the present. See myself, still here, still standing, still fighting for a son who might not want to be saved, but deserves the chance anyway. That's what the money was really about. Not the $25,000 Andrew wanted for his debts. Not even the $500 I left in the safe. It was about what I chose to keep, my dignity, my security, my ability to help on my terms, not his. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved, but you can give them the tools. You can draw the line. You can say, "This far, no further," and then you can wait. You can hope. You can pray if you're the praying type. And if they cross that line anyway, if they take what isn't theirs, if they choose the addiction over the relationship, then at least you know you tried. At least you know you didn't enable them to destruction. At least you know you loved them enough to say the hardest word in the English language. No. 2 more months. That's when Andrew finishes the program. That's when we'll see if this story has a happy ending or just an ending. Either way, I'll be here. In this house. At this table. Drinking coffee from Margaret's mug. Still standing. Still fighting. Still his father. But no longer his victim. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Maybe that's what I want people to understand. Being family doesn't mean being a doormat. Loving someone doesn't mean funding their destruction. And sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is build a wall, set a boundary, and make them climb it themselves. Because on the other side of that wall is the person they could be, the person they deserve to be. And you can't carry them there. You can only show them the way and hope they're strong enough to walk it. I pour another cup of coffee and watch the spring rain wash away the last of the winter snow. Somewhere up north, my son is learning to live without the thing that's been killing him. Somewhere in this house, a father is learning to live with the choices he made. We're both still learning, both still growing, both still hoping that tomorrow will be the day everything changes. And if it doesn't, if the call never comes, if he never makes amends, if he goes back to the gambling the day he walks out of that facility, well, at least I'll know I did everything I could. At least I'll know I loved him enough to say no. At least I'll know I didn't go down with the ship.